It's really easy to wear your voice out. It's really easy to damage your voice, actually. But the wear and tear of daily life will have its impact on your voice. And as an actor, you need your voice to be your primary instrument. So it's really important to know how to look after it and how to do some troubleshooting if things go wrong for you. The big enemies of the voice, of course, you're not going to like this, are alcohol and cigarettes. They dry the throat. Also dairy products. I mean, I love a bar of chocolate and a pint of milk, but they're not great for voice work. They create lots of mucus. So dryness and mucus are really terrible enemies of vocal folds. They either fur them up or they dry them out, so there's not enough moisture for the breath to come through and to make a nice clean sound as it passes over the vocal cords. Let's imagine the worst case scenario. You've got an audition tomorrow and the night before you've been to a party. You've been smoking or vaping, you've been standing with people who are doing the same, you've been drinking probably quite a lot, and your body is exhausted and dehydrated. The last thing that's going to work for you effectively is your voice. So what do you do in those emergency recovery situations? How can you get your voice back to tip-top? Very quickly, you can hydrate. Drink lots and lots of water. This will saturate the body with moisture. It will bring all the osmotic potential in your cells back to their right level, and it will also rehydrate your vocal folds and your vocal cords. Next thing to do, steaming. Simply boil some water in a kettle, put it into a bowl or into a basin, and then put a large towel over your head so no steam is escaping from the corners, and breathe in deeply through your nose and through your mouth. This is really going to hydrate your nasal passages and also the vocal area. If you're really struggling and your voice is fading, so you might have the beginnings of laryngitis or something, you could add some menthol crystals. They're easily obtained from a chemist or from Amazon. Just use a very small amount. They are very potent. They're menthol and eucalyptus, and they create these wonderful effervescent fumes that, if breathed in, can really start to expand the alveoli in the lungs and to really help you to breathe more deeply and more steadily. There are some things that you can have in your toolkit as actors. Things like lozenges. Throat pastils can be really useful, particularly those with glycerin inside them. The best ones, I think, are Vocal Zone. They're used very widely by opera singers and West End performers alike. You can just pop them quite discreetly at the back of your mouth and they'll start to do the work of protecting your vocal folds from any further damage. If things are really bad and you have a cough that's beginning, you might want to try some liquid glycerin. It comes in a bottle, and again, you can just buy it from any chemist. Don't overdo it with that, it can give you other problems, but liquid glycerin is also a very good way of coating the vocal folds. So once you feel that your voice is in a better place, you can start to begin to warm it up by just using some very basic vocal warm-up techniques. So once you've done your steaming and you've got hydrated and you've done those other things that I've suggested you do just to maintain your voice, you need to start to warm it up. The first thing we need to do before we start to produce sound is to stretch out the root of the tongue. Now, the root of the tongue is critical because it's attached to the larynx. So we need to make sure that we are stretching out that area around there in order to be able to make the tongue nice and free and to make that larynx or the voice box move up and down freely as we would hope it would in an audition situation. So we're going to start off by doing a tongue wash. Now, I'm putting my finger up here to represent my tongue, and it's going to stick up inside my mouth like that at midnight, and I'm going to keep my lips closed around it, and I'm going to wash it all the way around, right to my molars back at the top and at the bottom, and then right down to the teeth here at the front, and then all the way around past the molars, downstairs and upstairs on that side until it reaches midnight again. It's not an attractive exercise, but you'll find that as soon as you do it, moisture floods into your mouth, because what you're doing is you're stimulating all the salivary glands inside the mouth as you do that. So if you want an emergency mouth moisturising exercise, this is a really good one to do. So I'm going to start at midnight. Make sure your tongue's nice and stiff and muscular. My mouth's full of moisture, as it should be. But do that 8 times in one direction and then have a good old swallow. And then repeat, but the other way. And you might find that quite difficult, actually. It depends where the tension is in the root of your tongue. But just circling, really investigate those molars with the tip of your tongue. Try and make the tip of your tongue as pointy as you can. Put as much muscle as you can through the blade of the tongue. And then come back to midnight. Once you're done, your voice should be much freer. So now we've stretched out the root of tongue, we can now start to make a noise, but we don't want to be ambitious with this. Our voice might be damaged, it might be very tired. We need to just say hello to it quite gently. So we're going to do what's called a slack fold hum, which is to find our lowest humming note in the voice. So mine sits quite low down in the chest. So I'm going to find that, and I'm not going to put any pressure through the voice. I'm just going to say hello to the voice just through a gentle sound. Now I'm keeping my teeth apart, but I'm keeping my lips together. So I'm just creating a nice gentle hum. Now you might have heard in that little piece there that there's a bit of interruption in that. The more tongue washes I do, the more I talk to the root of the tongue, the less interruption there will be in that sound. So until you get an absolutely clean note, keep going with those tongue washes backwards and forwards, and then there'll be so much moisture in your mouth you won't really know what to do with it. But your voice will then be ready to be able to layer some sound on it. Now, if you've only got a very short amount of time for this vocal warm-up, you can really wake the voice up quite quickly by doing a siren, but don't put too much breath into this because you might over-project and bring those vocal folds together. We certainly don't want that early in the day for your voice. So it sounds like this. You start off in the lowest part of your voice in your chest, and then you go up to the highest note in your head voice, and you step up incrementally. And come back down the other way. And that would just say hello from chest to head. And as you do that, repeat, 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 repeat. If you just use that siren technique to move from the chest voice into the head voice, it will make sure that you step into that rehearsal room with a voice that's a lot more ready than it was the night before. And just check in with facial tension. Facial tension is one of the biggest enemies of vocal production. So just blowing the lips out and shaking the face out, and just making sure that there's no facial tension. You might also want to ball your face up and stretch it out and repeat that time and time and time again. And that will bring your forehead into this area of vocal expression. And the facial muscles are the last thing that help the voice to be heard in space. So we need those lips, the cheeks and the forehead and the eye intention to create a really, really important force behind the air and the phonation that we're producing through the voice. The face, the mouth, the lips give the voice its intention. So we need to wake that up as well as waking up the notes behind it.